I'll be honest with you, Maria, it's going to be a delicate dance. And a lot of it is going to depend on how the Chinese respond. If they respond in a highly aggressive manner, I guarantee you the President of the United States has far more cards than the People's Republic of China. If, however, they're willing to be reasonable, then Donald Trump is always willing to be a reasonable negotiator. We're going to find out a lot in the weeks to come about whether China wants to start a trade war with us or whether they actually want to be reasonable. I hope they choose the path of reason. The President of the United States is going to defend America regardless.
Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is Monday, 13th of October 2025. And today I have a very interesting article to bring to you. Today we'll be looking at more tariff from President Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, and the drama that unfolded between USA and China over the week. So, the tariff season is back, and America is playing the best card they can play. So guys, something interesting happened during the week. America once again has increased the tariff over China to 100%. According to Mr. Donald Trump, this is a response of China rare earth restriction, which China has placed over US. Actually, technically over everybody. Nobody can buy rare earth metals. But we are going to find out, in the course of this video, we are going to find out what and how it actually happened. And then we'll be looking at the posts which Mr. Donald Trump put out. So let's go over it together. So the first article I'll be showing to you today is a Truth Social post put out by Mr. Donald Trump in response to the China tariff, the China export control. So let's check it out. So first post, read Donald Trump. It has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinary aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to effectively, November 1st, 2025, impose a large-scale export control on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It is absolutely unheard of international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations. Okay, so let's pause there for a minute. It is absolutely unheard of in international trade. Mr. Trump is talking about international trade coming from the US to respect international trade. Isn't this the same US that placed a 100%, a 50% tariff on India? Why? Because they were buying Russia oil. That is a big time violation of international trade. Everybody spoke against it. Russia spoke against it. China spoke against it. But yet, the United States of America and its friends, they called to place a secondary tariff on nations dealing with Russia, which is a balanced violation of international trade. Yes, they don't care because according to them, the international trade doesn't concern them. They own the rules and they will write the rules whenever they choose to. But now, China played a little bit of its trump card. And now all of a sudden, the United States of America is going about international trade. When they were talking about seizing Russia shadow fleets on international seas, the whole world said it's a violation of international trade. Yet in Europe, they are talking about how to seize Russia fleets and try to come about means of how they used to seize the fleets. When Mr. Donald Trump placed a blanket tariff on virtually the whole world, they forget about international trade. Now that the table has turned, all of a sudden, he became the protector of international trade. Did they forget? or did they have a short memory to remember? Let's continue checking out the article. Based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position and speaking only for the United States of America and no other nation who were similarly threatened, starting November 1st, 2025 or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Also, on November 1st, we will impose export control on any and all critical software. It is impossible to believe that China would have taken such an action, but they have, and the rest is history. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, President Donald Trump, whatever it is he says at the end of his post. So, it's interesting. And now they talk about extra 100% tariff on any tariff that China is paying. First of all, China is not paying this tariff. It's the United States of America consumer that's paying this tariff. And second of all, the restriction on rare earth mineral imposed by China is a direct response to what the Americans are doing. During the week, the American Senate introduced a bill to limit or ban the sale of advanced chip to China. They have been doing this over and over. But you know what? The Chinese were like, you know what? Let's show these people a little bit of what we can do. And so they responded this way. So let's check out this article from Reuters and let's see how this all began up. What led us to get to the China and US position. So US lawmakers. So here's the article. US lawmakers call for broader ban on chip making tool sales to China. See that? They started it. Again, US lawmakers are calling for broader ban on chip making equipment to China after a bipartisan investigation found that China chip makers had purchased $38 billion of sophisticated gear last year. Inconsistency in rule issued by the US, Japan, and the Netherlands has led to non-US chip equipment manufacturer selling to some Chinese firm that US company could not, according to a report published on Tuesday. US House of Representatives Select Committee on China. The committee called for a broader ban by the US and its ally on shipmaking tools sales to China rather than narrower ban on sales to specific Chinese chip makers. The $38 billion was purchased from 5 top semiconductor manufacturing equipment suppliers, without breaking the law. Look, blah, blah, the rest of the article. Look, do you see the hypocrisy of US in action? I'm still going to show you another interesting article from Yahoo. I'm going to show you another interesting article, and maybe that one is a bit deeper than this. We'll get the whole story a bit clearly. But do you see the hypocrisy? So they ban the Chinese from buying not just chip, but the chip making tools. So first of all, we know they have recklessly banned the Chinese from buying chips. And now, the equipment needed to make those chips, they have also banned companies from selling it to China. But here's where it gets interesting. The materials, the raw materials needed to make the chip, guess who controls it? China. China controls it. But hey, China did not restrict. Up until now, China did not restrict anybody. They buy and they sell however they want. But when its chip has been processed when this raw material has maybe be processed and turned to cheap or whatever it is, the US now ban China, now ban companies from trading with China on that ship. Do you see how interesting the hypocrisy of America is? Do you see how they are overplaying their hand and dictating the rules of international trade? Why they flagrantly abuse this trade? Do you see how it is? So let's quickly head over to the topic to the post on Yahoo, which I think is more interesting. The China where Earth controls can forbid any country on Earth from participating in the modern economy. From a White House advisor one. Interesting. So the article, October 12, 2025. Beijing new export control on rare earths goes well beyond restricting access to critical technology inputs, according to a former White House advisor. On Tuesday, China Commerce Ministry said that starting on this December 1st, a license would be required for foreign companies to export products with more than 0.1% of rare earths from China or that are made with Chinese production technology. This prompted President Donald Trump to announce on Friday that he will impose an additional 100% tariff on China and limit US export of software. I mean, what again do you want to limit? But why it seems like the latest tit for tat exchange in the US-China trade war, there's more at stake. We should not miss the fundamental points on rare earths. China has crafted a policy that gives it the power to forbid any nation on earth from participating in modern economy. Dean Ball, who served as a senior advisor in the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy earlier this year, wrote on X on Saturday. They can do this because they diligently build industry capacity no one else had the fortune to build. Interesting. They are willing to tolerate costs, financial and environmental and otherwise to do it. Now the rest of the world must do the same. Because China has a stranglehold on rare earths, producing more than 90% of the world processed rare earths. 90%, that is huge. And rare earth magnets, they are used across industries from tech sector to automakers and defense contractors. They are so critical that the US car companies have cropped production due to rare earth shortage as China has leveraged to supply. As China has leveraged the supply to counter Trump's tariff. While ongoing talks between Washington and Beijing has eased as access somehow, free trade tension were simmering ahead of the latest flare-up on Friday. For example, the US moved to restrict other country exports of semiconductor-related products to China. Exactly what we just said earlier. And this past week, the US announced import fees on Chinese chips. That is true. They did this one, the first one. The first one they did is that they restricted. The first one they did is that they restricted sale of semiconductor-related products to China. And again, they announced port fees on Chinese chips, prompting Beijing to impose a similar fee on US chips docking at Chinese ports. China also launched an antitrust investigation into US chip maker Qualcomm. In other words, the United States can cut off China from the chips of today, but China can visually make it hard. They can vastly make it harder to build the chips and other advanced technology tomorrow. You see, so who has the greater power here? The one that can control the sale of finished products, or the one that can control the sale of the raw material needed for those finished products? You see, when I look at things like this, I sometimes weep for Africa, because while Africa has a lot of raw materials, we don't process it here. What we do is to buy the finished product that is made in maybe Europe or Asia or any other place. Why we'll sell our raw materials for close to nothing, or we get exploited of them. I mean, look at France. After kicking out France from Africa, look at how their economy is doing. Every day after the other, their government is collapsing. They are, going through all sort of financial issues. But look at China. China has access to like 90% of the world rare earth materials needed for virtually everything. Yes, they owned. They had to go through the tough times of the developing the refineries needed for refining these products. So even if they sell the raw materials, now they don't. I don't think actually sell the raw materials. They sell the refined raw materials, and only and only them is capable of doing so. So if US think it has a chokehold on chips, China has a chokehold on the raw material. Okay, let's continue reading. Let's see if can make it. In other words, the United States can cut off China from the chip of today, but China can make it China can make it vastly harder to build the ships and other advanced technology tomorrow, like a former president of the Council of Foreign Relations. So, okay, let's see here. Economist Robin Brooks, a senior fellowman at the Brookings Institution, observed that the market expects Trump's tariff threat will backfire on the US. But he rejected the idea that China has the upper hand over the US, saying in a post on Sunday that its exporters are suffering steep drop in profit due to Trump tariff. Yeah, I mean, China exporters are suffering from low cost profits. But he's not talking about US consumers paying higher than what it was before. Let's keep on going. So for its part, Beijing remained defiant with the Commerce Ministry saying Sunday that China don't want a tariff war, but it's also not afraid of one. It also said the export control are not a ban on rare earth shipment, but a sovereign right. Former White House advisor Ball, who is now a senior fellow at a Foundation of American Innovation, said China's strict rare earth controls represent an opportunity for the rest of the world to build new supply chain. Yeah, where are you going to build the supply chain? Where? Which country? In US or in Germany or where? Where do you want to build it? There's no other country, no other place. Always remember that supply is elastic. He added, if our life depends on it, we can surmount many challenges far faster than the policy planner in Beijing. Yeah, I mean, China can also do the same. If you think it's that easy, so why have you not done it years ago? When this when China is just starting to build up its rare earth refining capacity, so why did the US not move it to another country? I mean, first of all, when the US thought it's going to be a smart idea that the very critical minerals from magnets to whatever else it is, who is smart enough to make your biggest adversary control 90% of what you need to make your weapons? I mean, the most critical element that is important to your defense in industry, you make your biggest rival control it. Who does that? Who is stupid enough to do that? Well, so this is just I just think on sharing this quick article with you, and how the hypocrisy of US is coming to light. And I wish for nations like this for other nations to be bold, to be able to resist the pressure US has been throwing at it recently. I mean, look at Europe for example. Look at Europe for example. US study Europe to completely cut off Russia gas, even when the Europeans know that Russia gas is the best option they have in building companies, in building industries. They know that Russia gas is the best option they have to be able to at least compete with China. But America told them no, you can't do that. You have to cut off Russia gas, start buying our own gas. So how do you plan to compete in the world of today? If China, with their overcapacity in production advantage, now buy a way lower priced gas from Russia, how do you think Europe want to compete with that? Europe, the EU has been kicked out of the global market. They've been kicked out because I mean now the kind is only up to US and China. Maybe India can come up. Maybe India can come up, but we think India is still a long way. India is still a long way from getting to that point. I just want to share this my opinion with you on this quick video, on this so-called forth and back of the Chinese tariff and American tariff and whatever it is that's going up. And guys, I'll see you later. Thank you for coming back again, and thank you for supporting the channel. Do like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for the effort you are doing. Bye bye.